gauge that kind of displays everything, multiple things all in one. I want to hook that up before I end up getting there. They recommended a fuel pressure sensor, so that way they can test everything out for that in the event that there's a fuel pump failure or something along those lines. So a couple more things we got to do, but at least as of now, the car does run. So we're just going to test it, make sure it drives around the block, and yeah, go from there. So far, so good. So you can at least drive around the block. At least what it seems like. Hey man, it's doing pretty well. No issues as of yet. It's still warming up, but we're just testing it out. So we're not gonna be going crazy. I think there's an RPM limit of 5,000. I don't think I'm gonna hit that yet, but yeah, so far so good. Stopping to get the mail. It's definitely running rich. I can tell it's just shaking a lot, but yep, it's running, idling, it's holding itself together. I think we just need to adjust the main fuel and adjust my fuel pressure regulator, and we'll be set. So it got hot and the other fans either didn't turn on or I'm leaking a lot of coolant. I was leaking coolant before, so it could just be that, letting too much air into the system, or the fans didn't kick on. I thought they kicked on before, but yeah, 219 is way too hot. So give it a minute to cool down, try and start it back up. It wouldn't really drive anywhere either, so we'll see if we can get it going again. All right, so this is after the ECU's been tuned, been plugged in, and the car runs, yada yada. If you have a 1.6, you will still need to change the engine fan output, because originally it's basically meant for 1.8, which 1.8 was controlled by the ECU. So it's ignition 4, and I think I already took the other one off. I think it was like aux 2, something like that. But that's not really going to work for the 1.6 because it's not controlled by the ECU. So you basically need to change this from ignition 4, just double tap it, and then we'll scroll up to aux 8. The aux 8 essentially is the coolant switch for the 1.6. So it basically just kicks the fan on once the temperature hits a certain temp. Yeah, and this will flip it over, so that way it allows it to turn the fan on when it hits the correct temperature. And if you wire up the second fan to be the same as the first fan, then you can essentially just have both running at the same time. Not from the ECU, but you have to do the 2-fan trick to make it work. But otherwise, yeah, now my fan works, so we're good. Welcome back to the channel. This time we are going to be installing our ethanol content sensor. It's already under the car, it's already hooked up. Well, the wires are ran, power and ground is connected, so that's all out of the way. It's really just connecting it to the ECU, so this should be pretty quick. We're pretty much just going to connect it to, well, here, let me just show you. So you're essentially going to go under ECU settings, and then you'll go down to digital inputs. You'll click on ethanol sensor, just double click it. Assuming I clicked on the right one. Did not, I did not. Okay, there we go. So now that we've clicked ethanol sensor, you pretty much are just going to choose your source, and then we're going to go with DI9, because my cable currently running, this is the ethanol content sensor cable, blue, DI9 also blue. On the board itself, you have DI9 right there. So then we should be good, but there's plenty of other ones that we could use, but we're just gonna keep it blue. So from there, we are going to connect the blue with the blue, and then we're going to select this. So these are official configs for the ethanol content sensor. So minus the default value, everything else is right. All right, a little better. Camera's a little dirty, but that's all good. So we got our wire hooked up here. Let's test and see if these gauges are actually gonna work before we get too much further into this. Okay, sweet. So we're looking good there. ECU's on, gauges are on, we're doing good. So now we can move on to the testing of everything else. After talking with Pat, I pretty much have decided to take this block off plate off. And then I'm gonna have the feed come in this way for the fuel rail, go all the way back out, just in the thought of, since it's coming in all the way over there, you can't see it. Since it's coming in all the way over there and it's basically leaving all the way back down, the thought is that anything up here might get a little fuel starvation, but we won't really see it overall. So better be safe than sorry. I'll just have it routed here, come back down, go back over, and then should be set. So we'll do that here in a minute. But additionally to that, we need to put in our fuel sensor. This is the 10 bar sensor from Link that I plan on using for the fuel pressure, just to make sure that everything's good to go when it comes time to tune and we don't have any issues or concerns. So in order to connect that, we got another expansion loom, so we can use both ports that are on the Link ECU itself. And then we also will be installing our CAN Lambda, which is basically our AFR for any other car, which is just more direct instead of using, yeah. So we'll get that installed. Pretty much bought so many things from Link, it all makes sense. So, and then last but not least, the CAN gauge, which is super sick because it allows you to connect and see pretty much everything all at the same time from just one screen. So yeah, we'll get into most of this stuff. We'll do the wiring now. We'll probably do the fuel another day, but we'll at least get the fuel sensor hooked up, and then I'll show you how to connect that and configure it in your computer. All right, so as far as your fuel pressure sensor goes, you're pretty much going to need to go to ECU settings. This touchscreen, I'm telling you, real questionable. You can just type in fuel. You should see fuel pressure pop up. And then once you click on that, it should open this window here, which will show all the things that we're looking for. So you can choose from multiple different ports, pretty much anything that you really want. But I chose temp 3 because, again, that is on the expansion board. So temp 4 is also on the expansion board. But I plan on going with temp 3 for this, so we'll just hit OK. And then these are the the error signals. So if it's too low or it's too high, it'll alert and create an alarm for that. But the sensor itself, if you can, let me pull it out of the packaging real quick. Looks like the analog temp pull-up resistor, which is essentially to provide power, I believe. Yeah, if you ever need to find anything, just hold on it or right-click it, and then it should give you the what's this, and it should take you to a whole data sheet of pretty much how to explain what everything is. So setting allows the user to control the internal pull-up of an analog temp pin on storm, monsoon, it's already fixed. So pretty much should just provide power or signal output, which is what we're looking for. So we should be good there. So we'll set it, I just set my error value to 69 because it's easier to understand that there's a problem when it's stuck at 69. And then the calibration, you'll set it to an array of different options that you can choose from. Now, I didn't see a 10 bar on here for a Link specifically. This is also a Variahum. How do you say that? Variahum. But yeah, so there's only an 8 bar, so I set it to that. If there's a problem, we'll worry about that. But I don't think we should really see more than 8 bars, just because, you know, it's a Miata, so it should be good. Also comes with a wiring diagram, so you know as you're looking at it, with 2 pins facing up. It's going to be this. A is top left, B is top right, C is bottom. So ground, 5 volt, not 12 volt, 5 volt, it specifically calls it out, and then signal. So, and the signal is temp 3. That's what the signal will be. So I think we're going to start with just taking this out of the package, getting it connected up, and then I'll show you how to quickly connect the CAN. So we'll start with getting the expansion loom, then next one added on there real quick and just plugged in, and then we'll hook up our CAN gauge, which should be straightforward and pretty easy because it has multiple places you can plug it in, top or bottom doesn't matter. It has a resistor built in, which is what the Link requires for CAN connections on the end piece. It also comes with a pin if you want to, if you didn't get the adapter, to basically just plug it straight in. I'll show you that here in a minute. And then you have your long cable. The orange is for the lighting. If you want to hook it up to like the room lighting, you can turn it up with that, so it lights up and whatnot. But otherwise, yeah, this will just plug straight into the ECU itself, and then this will plug into our CAN connection on the ECU. So that there is an adapter for, which is right here. Well, this is a splitter, so this will show the splitting aspect of it, so you can connect multiple CAN devices to one port. But do I have it out here? I don't. Hang on. So this is the part that will pretty much allow you to just connect it right up to the ECU right here for your CAN high and low, and then you'll have, it gives you direct power outputs from that as well. So you can literally plug this directly into here. This also has, I think it's, oh yeah, it's all routed through that. So yeah, you'll literally just plug it in and then find the power source for this. Should be set. So you're going to come over here to the ECU. You are pretty much going to find one of the CAN connections. That one, that's tucked under there. Just CAN 2. And then this is CAN 1 right there. So we'll just use CAN 1 because it's easy. We'll plug in our connector right here. And then we'll hook that up to this. And then we should be good. For the most part, we just need to find a power source, which we have plenty of. So now we are plugged in all the way. The CAN connection, camera won't focus, too close, but for the CAN connection, we're plugged in there. So now we can just go ahead and plug this in directly here, flip it. There we go. Now we have our long cable, which will go right into the gauge, and then we just need to hook up to power, which we have a connection right over there for. Okay, so we have it plugged into the back of the gauge itself. You don't have plastic on, I'll explain mine a bit. Have it hooked up to ground and power. You can't tell where that's at, but either way. And then we should be able to turn the car on. Assuming we have power to both of those spots, this should kick on, but oh, looks like we're having some power issue. Hang on. Okay, round 2. Had a bad power source. So power it on. And then it says Gauge Art, so there's an app that you can download that's called Gauge Art that should allow you to see everything. But cool, just off the rip, coolant and TPS, so RPM, cool. And I think you have to add everything through the app. So let me download that real quick and I'll show you how to use it. Okay, so once you have your CAN gauge actually powered on, and it's up and at 'em, you'll pretty much go into the settings after you download the app, the CAN gauge app. Straightforward. Once you open it, it asks you to connect to the Wi-Fi for the CAN gauge. So you'll connect to it, it'll ask you for a password. So the password is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then it should let you into it so you can start configuring and doing all the changes. But all this comes with the actual gauge itself. So it'll walk you through how to do any additional configurations and whatnot. But yeah, man, this is the start of it. All right, so the configuration for the CAN gauge essentially is going to be in the PC Link, ECU settings, CAN setup, select the CAN module, user define, 1 bit. Transmit generic dash, CAN ID 56, transmit 20, format, apply. This is what the screen looks like and what the settings should be, and then you should be set to use that in the car. And pretty much this is the main page. So you'll go through and select how many gauges you want, how many things you want displayed on each page, how you want it broken, and then looks like you can just go through a bunch of different parameters. There we go. A little janky, that's okay. I only put a couple things on here because I'm not keeping this. I'm actually just setting it up so you guys know how to do it, and then I'm selling this. So I'm gonna have something else come in a little bit different that will also take care of all the gauges. But yeah, now you know how to install your can gauge. Woo! Okay, so based off our sensor for the fuel pressure sensor, we'll have that set up, and then we're basically going to feed the wires from the back side in to our plug that comes with it, which this is the orientation. Ground's on the top left, 5 volts on the top right, not 12 volt, 5 volt, and then we have our signal at the bottom. So we will get the crimps pieces themselves, and then we should be able to throw these on, put the wires in, crush it up, slide it inside that, and we should be set. So we got all of our pins lined up. So now we just need to pull them back so that way they sit in the position and don't move, and then we should be good to plug this in. All right, now that we got all of our connections running into the actual fuel pressure sensor, we're good to go there. Got our everything updated on the ECU, so we now have our fuel pressure sensor active and working. So now we can rotate over to our CAN Lambda, which is basically going to be our AFR, just better overall. So we'll go ahead and figure out where we're going to place it. The old AFR gauge is basically right underneath this, so we'll basically pull the carpet up, pull that out, move this and connect it, and then we should be set. So let's get into it. And obviously comes with instructions as always. So we have the pin 1, which is essentially this one. There's only 4 connections for the CAN bus, and then we have the 6 one, which is for the LSU 4.9, which is what I already have in there. So I should be able to unplug that from under the car, plug this in, and then we should be set. I thought it was under the center of the dash, but it's not. It is under the car. So we will need to get out of the car to unplug and replug in the new connection, and then we should be good. All right, so if you want to install your CAN Lambda, or it's basically an AFR gauge, essentially you are going to, if you're doing it the same way I am, because I'm using a CAN gauge temporarily for now, I have the splitter. All this is on Link's website, but there's basically a splitter. There's a piece that comes out of the ECU that provides power to the splitter. That's this piece here, and then goes into the splitter for the CAN connections. We have one connection going to our CAN gauge, and then we have the other connection going to our CAN Lambda. Now this will get warm, as I can feel it's warm with the car on currently. So we will basically need to go into the ECU with everything hooked up and connected. We will search for an ECU settings, Lambda. You can set it up so that way Lambda 1 is set to the Link CAN, and then you're gonna go to CAN setup, which is all within our ECU settings. And then once you're at CAN setup, you'll just double click it. It'll take you in a little bit further. I'm plugged into CAN 1 currently, so we will change the mode to user defined. And this thing is a little janky. Okay, there we go. So got it set to user defined. We'll leave the bitrate to 1. I'm not needing OBD, so I'm just gonna leave that setting off. We're just gonna choose a channel. So I'm gonna choose channel 1. And then we're gonna select our mode. Our mode, there's a billion different ones to choose from that are in this list. You can choose from a whole heap of different things in here, but we are gonna go with, what was that? Oh, CAN gauge extra, that's cool. CAN Lambda, cool. So then we will just leave everything as is. We'll go to CAN devices at the top in the tab, hit find devices. There we go, it should pull up our CAN Lambda 1. Configure device, we'll leave it for the bitrate, what it is. Change was successful, please power cycle the CAN device. So you don't want to disconnect power to the ECU, just the device itself. So I will disconnect the plug that is powering the CAN Lambda itself, and then we'll go from there. Oh, and it does call for the CAN ID decimal to be 950. Leave the format as normal, but 950 for the decimal. And now with our changes for our CAN Lambda, we actually have a reading for it. So sweet. Definitely not near our targeted, which we need to adjust some things for that, but I'm just glad we're finally done with the sensor part of things for now. Now to clean up this crazy wiring job.